Hello everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. Today we're going to fight this wind and we're hopefully going to get the section of pasture opened up for the piglets. So we got to get some fence repaired and we got to get the electric set and open a way for them to get out of the greenhouse and onto this hillside. So come along. So I have this section of pasture, woodlot, whatever you want to call it, that I've let lay fallow for a couple years now. None of the pigs have been on it. And I actually want to bust that up into two sections. So we're going to start here with this corner post, and I got to reset this. This is an old locust post that I put in, and it's got a pretty bad gangster lean to it. So we're going to set a heavier post in its place, and this will be the corner that goes down towards the driveway, and I'll show you here on the map of what we're talking about. You can kind of see this pasture that we've had defined, but we're going to kind of divide this, not necessarily in half, maybe 1/3 or so, something like that. But we want to give them access to this hillside first and be able to walk right out of the greenhouse and turn in and be able to access it. So first I need to go harvest a corner post or two for this. And we'll be using old gas line. So I got to go find some old gas line. So we had a pretty good storm come through last night and this morning that dumped a ton of rain. It was a real frog choker. So a lot of bad wind, and there's tons of gas pipe further up the valley, but we're not going to go into the woods. It's kind of a rule that I have with the boys and try to follow that myself. When you have this high wind, we don't get in the woods unless we absolutely have to. But I've got some gas pipe laying here on the ground that I think I can harvest from. I also see one of my pig bowls that washed down from the boar pasture. Let me grab that real quick. All right, so I got 6 usable pieces out of that, and usable is loose. A little bit of a curve in some of those, but I think those will work. Various sizes. I'm going to let them cool down before I toss them in the back of the side by side because those ends are still pretty hot. And if you follow the channel, you know where all this comes from. But I always think the first time, the reason why this is all bent up was the first time running a dozer on the property, I clipped one of these. And, you know, I knew all of them were supposed to be defunct, but man, you still wonder, is there a chance somebody missed one, or is it full of drip or something? So you just kind of keep your fingers crossed as you're plowing through it with the dozer. So that's why this one had a bit of a bend to it. All right, so while this cools, I'm going to get my hardware together, and we can start setting posts. Since this is going to be a critical corner post, this is my main post, of course, and this will be the support post that I drove in. And normally you do some sort of horizontal bracket or diagonal bracket. I thought about dragging out the welder, but I thought, no, I don't think my little 2,000 watt will run it. And I don't want to fool around with trying to get my full size, my big one, my 7,500 kilowatt. What the heck is it? 7,500 watt. Daggone. So, you know, dance with who brought you. Had some old angle iron here. Makeshift been an angle to it. See if my self tappers will drive it in and give us that bracing we need. Looky there. That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to zoom in. That big pine tree right there in the dead center, right there on the ground, all the way over on the south ridge, just fell. I just watched it come down. Scared me to death. Okay, so I've got this as an anchor. My tensioner's completely on the other end, down at the bottom of the hill. So I'm going to load up, go down there to the tensioner, and set some new poles as well. I have to watch. I'm debating because that corner is right at the edge of my driveway, and in the wintertime, if you slide off the driveway a little bit, a wooden fence post isn't that big a deal, but a steel 2-inch pipe, whatever. You know, this probably isn't the smartest thing to do to work on this at this time in this wind. There's a double trunk red oak that's dead, and I've just been watching it go back and forth as I've been here working. Fortunately, if it falls this way, it's going to take out the power lines and cover me up in power lines before it hits me. So what doesn't kill me with a limb will kill me with the electricity. So let's move quickly, shall we? So I drove the majority of that post into the ground, and I may regret this, but I'm going to leave that right now. That is super stout. And if I have to come back and do some cross bracing, I will on a day when that tree's not threatening me. But I can go back up the line now and see where I need to put some posts in between to get that off the ground and where I need to. All right, so for these intermediate posts, I don't need anything as heavy duty as the gas pipe, and there's a video I've done in the past, I'll link to it here, but it's where we're testing different types of posts. The gas pipe, 1/2 inch metal conduit, and then I think it was 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch PVC conduit. And actually all of those are still functioning quite well. They're around the boar pasture. I haven't had to replace any of those. And I'll put the date that I posted that video because I can't remember off the top of my head when we did that. But those have held up really well. I like these, the metal conduit, just because of the, it's still a little more rigid. And if I have any spot where the fence has to make a turn, then the Schedule 40 PVC conduit tends to bend a little. This doesn't bend as much. Now, of course, with this, you still have to have the self-tapping screws in the insulator, but it still comes out cheaper than a T-post and an insulator, simply because we don't need something that tall and that robust. And these are, let me see, there's 10 of them here. It was about $58, I believe. So yeah, $5.80 a 10-foot stick. And I'm going to cut these at 3 1/3, so I can get 3 out of each stick. So I should be able to get, what is that, 3 times 10? That's 30 sticks that I can get out of this. There's 30 posts that we'll be able to use throughout this pasture that we're setting up. So I'm just going to cut all of them to length while they're still bundled together. That's for crying out loud. We want 32. No. 369. 10 feet, 120 inches. 40. We want 40. 40, 40, 40. Good night. Ooh. Did you go to public school? Yes, I did. All right, so we just had another tree fall just a little bit away from where I'm working. So I think I'm going to call it a day, and we'll pick up here again when the wind's not blowing so crazily. It's a little bit intimidating to work, and most of the time, you know, everything looks like this too, so it's tough to get anything done. Now, you may be thinking, well, Troy, you're such a big chicken. If you're not familiar with working in the woods a lot, getting hit by a tree is not as freak as it sounds. In fact, just last week, a good friend of mine, he and his son were riding in one of our local state forests, mountain biking, stopped to take a rest and talk real quick, and a deadfall snag fell right across them. Fortunately, they weren't seriously injured. The son had a contusion on his lungs, and he's doing much better now. But fortunately, they were wearing all their gear and kind of pancaked both their bikes. So as crazy as it sounds, it happens a lot. So it's just not worth, that's not the way I want to die. Being crushed by a tree just isn't on the top of the list. I don't know, fiery motorcycle accident, drag racing accident, cliff diving, jealous lover, that's the kind of way I thought I was going to go out. So I don't want to go out by a tree. But we'll pick right back up once the wind dies down. All right, so I got the section along the driveway taken care of. Just got to come back and tension it up now. And now I'm down here by the creek working on the main line that goes up past the workshop and the barn. And it's really been neglected, of course. It's got a lot of grass growing up on it, a lot of briar. There's a huge multiflora rose bush growing right in the middle of that section back there. So we'll get to that in a second. But I'm going to start here and work my way up the valley, knowing that I'll wrap up back at the front of the greenhouse because that's where I want to make the gate. So we'll have to make sure there's an opportunity for the electric fence either to go over or under and not freak them out because I want them to pass through that gate easily. So we'll do that last. But right now I'm just going to kind of clean up, use my conduit posts as an opportunity to raise the fence up in areas or even draw it down in other areas and just get a lot of these weeds off of here. Well, okay, so I'm up here at the north corner. That was my brace over there in that back spot, and I'm actually going to come out into this old pasture, and I'm going to put some new line in. We're going to have a line coming right where I cut the grass, and then it's going to go straight over the hill. And this is going to be new fence, just because this was all one pasture at one time. We're busting this up in two, and I took my weed eater here and cleaned the line so I could see how to run this and even down the hill. I say weed eater. I don't know, what do you call that? String trimmer, weed eater, still? I know weed eater's name brand. Comment below, what do you guys call your string trimmer thingy? We've always called them weed eaters. Anyway, so the idea in this corner in front of y'all is to put just a low tension wire. So it'll actually have a gate latch on this side and a gate latch on that side. And you may be wondering, why the two gate latches? Well, it's kind of an in and an out door. To get them into the pasture where you're standing, this fence will make like a corner here. So imagine I'm going to drive this T-post right here, and the fence will come up and back, but if the gate latch is here, then what I can do is corner the pigs. It's usually best when you're moving them from point A to point B. I've discovered that instead of just having a long straightaway and you lift a gate latch and you're trying to get them to go through that opening, it's best to funnel them with a corner. So this obtuse angle that's made here will still be a corner enough to run them through, so they'll be able to pass right through here. But if I was trying to do the reverse, if I was trying to get them from here to here, then that angle actually works completely against me because pigs are going to turn and go that way. And so half is going to go this way, half is going to go that way. So the opportunity to get back into the lower pasture would be down here where there'd be a perfect 90-degree angle. And that's because the fence goes on up the hill as well. So I can take that gate off, corner them there, and move them down. So that's the reason to have two gate latches that close together. But enough talking, let's get working. Oh, actually, there's one more thing. You guys may be wondering, wow, Troy, you have more wardrobe changes in this video than in a Katy Perry music video. And to that I say, well, yeah, that's true. I've been busting this up. I've been working on this in the evenings or first thing in the morning or whatever I can. And so that's why. This has been over the course of actually multiple weeks now. But anyway, let's drive some T-posts. So let's do this. I'm going to put this on a chair. You take that. And see this, see the metal pole down there by the road that's in an angle like this, and there's another metal pole there. Okay, so just to the, dog's nearsighted, just to the right of this, on this side of the creek is a tree. You can see the tree kind of has like 3 trunks.
Yeah.
So you're going straight to that tree. So all I want you to do is go down to that tree, pulling wire, straight shot. There'll be a log laying on the ground. Go to the right of the log. You actually see there's like a little trail there. Okay. So just walk down there stretching that, and just take that wire and go around that tree once and tighten it off. Like you can just come around and bend it like that, and then walk back up if you would. Okay. No, the one straight in front of you. Yeah, go down low. Go down lower. There you go, right there. Yeah, and just twist it back around on itself so it doesn't come loose. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we'll roll off a little bit of this. I'm going to cut it right chair. Oh no! I went all the way down the hill. Would you get that, please? Santa Maria. Gracias, Senor. I'm going to leave that pigtail because that will connect here to energize this line as well, because we need to keep the connector. This isn't energized, this loop. It's just simply holding the wire on the post.
How's that T-post not grounded out?
Well, that's the thing. So there's an insulator here. So this wire's hot. This wire's just acting as a connector or as a holder. It's not grounding out on anything. Now, if it would come up and touch that somehow, then yes, it would be a problem. But that's why I'm trying to get all this stuff bent to a certain shape and accommodate those things. So that should be fine. So now what we want to do is just go down and set we've got 10 posts there. So we just want to grab those and go down and drive them in the ground in key places. Like there's a low spot here. So we want to drive one because we want that to be, kind of eyebrow height on the pig. So we're going to drive that down and then over the hump and all the way down. So, okay. This should be the lowest of the lows right here. So this last bit, what I want to do is, before I see how there's such a big gap right there, last thing I want to do, or before I do that, I left that insulator up there, you turkey. Would you mind going up and getting that big Trank insulator? I picked it up. No, nope, never mind. It's in my rear. That's why I didn't know where it was. Wash this. Okay, so what we want to do is establish this anchor point. This tree obviously isn't going anywhere. So I want to see, okay, how do I need to anchor this vertically so I can take out that little swag? So like we've got a lot of tension on this. So I'm going to undo through. I didn't bring the tensioning handle. This is where we're going ahead and locking it in. Handy. So we can get lower just a little bit. Okay, so I'm here with the last section. I've got these 2 T-posts set here. That's going to be my opening for the pigs to walk into this new woodlot pasture. And of course we'll have to take out the cattle panel here and make a corridor or a chute, if you will, because I don't want them having access to the area where we're going to plant potatoes. So I'm going to sever this line. This is one continuous line. I almost hate to do this. It goes all the way up to the very end of this paddock, and had a big tensioner on the end. Well, I robbed the tensioner from it. It was on that end, and it was only not even, 20 yards. So I'm going to sever the line here and just put a cheap plastic tensioner on that, because I only got to tighten about 20 yards of wire. This will suffice for that. And then on this end, going the rest of the way up the paddock, then I'll put the heavy-duty tensioner on there and be able to draw that in. And what I'll do as far as connectivity, obviously we don't want electric around here that the pigs won't pass through, so we're just going to take insulators and go up and over and down. So we'll do an inverse U to be able to tie that together. And that should be able to give us our opening, and then we'll work on the cattle panel after that. And the fence is energized now, so we are ready to go. I'm going to go in and steal their food bowls, because that's why they're making noise. They know it's time. And I'm going to put the food bowls across the stream here on the hillside and lure them over there when we open the door. And what I'll do with the door as well is I'll open that all the way and actually screw it to the face of the greenhouse so it stays open all the time. And that way they don't lock themselves in or lock themselves out in that process. So let's get some bowls. Get back! Get back, you fierce animals! That's my leg, that's my leg. Unhand me, you fool! Ow! Oof. Ah. Oh. Ow! Ooh. Ah. Ooh. Get back! That was close. Almost clotheslined myself with 10 kilovolts. Kilowatts, not quite. Is that right, pigs? Swine suckers. Yeah, piggy, 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 piggy. Yeah, pig, pig, pig. Yeah, pig, 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 pig. Smallest pig out of the whole litter is the one that was smart enough to, or brave enough to come through. All right, it looks like it's going to take him a couple days to adjust. Got the one female, the smallest one. She's been the bravest to venture out. She actually got spooked and came out and ran around for a little bit. So it is what it is. But they'll get more accommodated to it and be able to have access to this whole hillside. So I think that'll work. All right, well, I appreciate everybody watching. Y'all take care.